Welcome to a more successful, sexually fulfilled way of life. I'm Dr. Harlan Stewart. Success isn't defined by the title on your stationery. It's not determined by the amount of money in your bank account. It's really based on what I like to call the I and the A, image and attitude. Remember those words, or if it's easier, just the letters. They're keys to your new life. Ow! Oh, God damn it, that's the ear. That's the ear. I'm fine. Daddy's okay! This Christmas card is the only image some of these people will see of us for a whole year. If he is crying or upset or looks unhappy in any way, these people will think we're bad parents for a whole year. Now towel him off. That wool is making him sweat like a Mexican whore. Key number 1, nurture your self-esteem. The first step to convincing others that we're worthy of their respect and admiration is to convince ourselves. Did you ever see Baby Louie, the toothless tot? That was one of my acts. He was actually a midget with bad gingivitis. You would put a piece of meat into his mouth and he would gum it into the shape of a current celebrity. Eat a brisket and it came out looking like Ethel Merman. He wound up choking to death on a piece of pork as big as your fist. I told him that Orson Welles was a risk. The average motor vehicle weighs approximately 2,000 pounds. It is capable of speeds in excess of 120 miles per hour. That means when you step behind the wheel of your motor vehicle, you are technically inside of what? A 2,000-pound bullet. Now you're going to be getting a crash course in driving defensively. When I use the term crash course, I'm making a what? A pun. Yes? Hello, David. That's good to hear. Stay in touch. Bye-bye. That was David Hasselhoff, TV's Baywatcher. People tend to be more comfortable with the familiar. Being a fish out of water, a horse of a different color, isn't often conducive to winning friends in your chosen environment. You see, that's the thing. People that don't travel beyond Paris think that the French are rude and snobbish, but the Provençal, which is what they call themselves, just the opposite. Let me throw a hypothetical situation at you. You're driving behind a slow-moving truck on a 2-lane highway in a passing zone. You see the other driver wave you ahead. Do you change lanes to pass or remain behind the trucker? Anybody? Well, here's where I surprise you. Because this hypothetical situation is based on a true story, which makes it a what? A realistic situation. Part of putting your best foot forward is keeping your worst foot well hidden. If you're wondering about that gap of time after I graduated high school, you should know that I took 3 years off to find myself, something I would recommend almost anyone. What I ultimately found was that I was a crystal meth addict. Which is unacceptable, but on the positive side, it really taught me a whole lot about who I am as a person. It showed me that I could stare a drug addiction in the face, really see it for what it is, and eventually go to prison for it. When I was down and out in the late 90s, I could have spent my last $200 on basic necessities. But I chose to use it to Photoshop my head and torso onto the cover of Fortune magazine under the title America's Newest Billionaire. That magazine cover not only garnered me a relationship with a very attractive female contortionist, it also enabled me to secure much-needed loans from several foreign business magnates. Well, that story doesn't have a happy ending, but there are others that do. I start wrestling with this mammoth bottle, and as you can imagine, disaster ensues. The damn thing explodes, shoots the cork right into Gigi's face, champagne all over my slacks, a cotton twill, my favorite pair, and Erica's new dress. So now here's Erica and I frantically sponging ourselves with soda water while Gigi writhes in pain and begs us to drive her to L'Hôpital, which of course is the hospital in France.
Now Sir Nigel Throckmorton recalls his heady days as the confidant to the literary giants of his time in Reminiscences of an English Gentleman, One Man's Brush with Greatness.
When we next met in a little cafe in Paris, Ernest challenged me to a boxing match. Well, when I refused, he began playfully slapping me around with those huge paws of his until finally I went unconscious. When I came to, Hemingway had me pinned to the ground and was grinding my hand into some broken glass that lay nearby. Well, I immediately cried out in pain and begged him to stop. I shall never forget what he said next. In that wonderful, gravelly voice of his, he said, "The scars will do you good, you silly little fag." What a way with words. Take the lessons you've learned from these seminars and aggressively put them into action. Hey, excuse me. Hey, come here for a second. Okay, watch and learn. I picked this up at a seminar. Oh, I'm sorry. I gotta take this. Hold on for a second. Hello? Vince? Vince Vaughn. Hey, Vinny, how you doing, man? Yeah, it's Vince Vaughn. Stay well, Vinny. Bye-bye. Hello, ladies. No, yeah, that was Vince Vaughn. He's a friend of mine. Yeah, I met him. It's right back up. No, I'm not going to show you. His number's unlisted. It wouldn't appear on the... Yo, who do you got on your speed dial? Svengoolie? That goth shit went out in the 80s. Fucking freaks. What are you laughing at? Vince Vaughn is airtight. It is totally possible I could know Vince Vaughn. Bullshit, too big a star. Who would you have used? David Spade? I'm trying to get laid here. David Spade, I'll be looking to get a finger up my ass. Jesus! Show some ambition. Used to be somebody call me up, brag about their life. Oh, I just had lunch with so-and-so, the famous author. Oh, I'm calling you from France, sipping a fine Bordeaux. And they'd ask me what I was up to, and I'd try to come up with something just as good. Now I go the other way. What am I up to? I'm choking the chicken. Call me back in half an hour. And they hardly ever do. And that calls for a celebration. Hallelujah! Another minute of glorious life.